Okay, well, I'm Katie.
And I'm Stephanie.
This is the Reading Nook Magic podcast.
Today we have an amazing guest, Stefan Bolz. He's local to us. He's also a real estate agent but he's an author, which is the real reason why we're here to chat with you and hear all about it.
I'm not sure if it's author slash realtor or realtor slash author. So,
And someone we all know, Michael, had told me he's an author. You should. This was before the podcast started. He just knew I would be interested in that, and I was like, huh. And then Steph brought it up as well, and I was like, that's interesting. And then when we started talking about the podcast, and it definitely piqued my interest, and I started following you on something, or maybe I like looked you up and saw what you wrote on Amazon or something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know any details about me personally. I don't know if Steph does about what you write, how long you've wrote. Yeah, so just kind of like fill us in.
okay, it all started in 1965. No. So I was actually, no, it's kind of true. I was 17 when I started my first book. It never finished, but it was kind of a World War II spy story, and I kind of fleshed it out and all that. And I kind of, life happened. I got married and all kinds of stuff. So 20 years later, more than 20 years later, in 2000 or 1998, I was at Ulster County Community College. I came here, I got my GED, went to college, started real estate kind of parallel to that. And I took a writing class at BOCES, and I don't know, I wrote something, and my teacher said, you have to write. And that was my third year living here in the US, so my English wasn't, I had English at school in Germany, but it wasn't writing English, right? But I guess something came through that she said, you should really write. So I had this story in my head. It's a very long story. I'm not going to tell it. But basically, I wrote a screenplay. It took 3 years. It was 30 different versions. It was an insane amount of time I spent on it. And it almost got optioned. It didn't happen because I panicked. Some producer said, hey, I would like to option your screenplay. And I'm like, I was like, no, it was crazy. So anyway, so from there was a bunch of other screenplays. And then I think 2012, I was in therapy for a while. And then I stopped therapy, and then I came back to it because I fixed a printer at my colleague's friend's house. And she was an astrologer. And she said, I'm going to read you your chart while you fix my printer. So while I was fixing the printer, she was going on about Geminis. It's like the worst, it's like boom, boom, boom. And then she said two things. One is, she said, stop editing yourself. And the second thing is, you have to go back to therapy. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back to my therapist. And she was great. She had a sandbox, and she had also a huge shelf with all kinds of stuff on it. And what we do is, I take stuff from the shelf, I put it in the sandbox in a certain order that is unconscious, right? I just put the stuff in, and then we talk about it, and usually it makes total sense. And that day, it made no sense at all. There was a rooster, there was a frog on a skateboard, there was a Pegasus, there was a dragon, there was feathers, and I'm like, what the hell is that? So I wrote every session I wrote down afterwards, and this one I did the same. But in this case, I said, okay, once upon a time, there was a rooster. He lived, blah blah blah, and a book started. It was called The Three Feathers, and I got into it, and all of a sudden I had a map, and then I had those images of this German painter, and it became this crazy fantasy fable. And I wanted to stop a couple of times, but Amy's daughter, Layla, who was 10 at the time, she read portions of it, and she says, you have to keep going, I love it. So she is really she is the one that made me a writer. Without her, I probably would have stopped. and never picked it up again. So I finished that. Then I met Hugh Howey. I'm not sure if you know him. He is one of the indie authors that made it really big. His series is called Silo on Apple TV. And it's like dystopian. They live in silos underground. And there was an indie author who really all of a sudden completely took off. So I met him, and then I started writing more and more and more. And up until the present day.
That's so cool. Isn't it crazy, like, how you just said that one person, if they didn't encourage you and didn't tell you to keep going, that would have been a wrap. And that's just so incredible. And it shows you, like, how much life is just, like, hanging on by, like, a thread, right? Like,
right.
Are you going to go down this thread of fate, or are you going to snap it and go another one?
Right.
Thank God
It was,
you kept writing.
yeah, I know. It's really profound to go back to it and realize if she wouldn't have written those little notes in her little handwriting, you know, I love it, keep going. Because the first book, you're like, who the hell are you writing a book, right? It's like, what are you talking about, right? And I was filled with doubt. And but on the other hand, the end of the first book, the last 2 weeks, I want to say chapter and a half, I was kind of sick. I had like a cold. I was in a haze, and I could not stop crying while I wrote the last 2 chapters. It just all poured out of me, and I guess it poured into the pages. So it was really kind of a little bit of a spiritual experience to write the ending of it, and it stayed with me until this day. It was a gift that I cherish until up to this day. It was weird. It's almost like it didn't come from me. It just like, you know,
Channeled.
It's like, oh my God. You know, I was crying. I couldn't see the screen. It was crazy that I was sneezing, and it was weird.
What's the name of that book?
It's called The Three Feathers.
Okay.
I didn't have an editor. I had my sister-in-law was editing the book. So there are a lot of comments. I mean, everybody loves the book, but they're like, oh, you should get an editor, man. And I was like, I know, it's the first book. But everybody loved it, but it's a little, especially in the beginning, you know, my German weird sentence structure. And
Well, I didn't even think of that until you started talking. I'm like, so have you ever written a book in German, or you wrote all your books in English?
I cannot write in German at all. I tried to write in German. It's the worst. I write one sentence, I'm like, oof, I have to somehow go in ChatGPT and make it better in German. But in English, it just comes out. And the first book, The Three Feathers, was translated into German by a friend of my son's. And I tried to kind of be in control a little bit of the editing, but after 2 pages, I'm like,
It's on you. You got this.
It's totally on you.
No, why do you think that is? Is that because, like, now you feel like English is your first language, or it just doesn't? Yeah.
I think in English, and the only thing I do is count. I count in German, but the rest is all in English. It's yeah.
Total aside tangent. I had a personal trainer that was from Germany, and she was here for a very, very long time, and she said the same exact thing. She thinks in English now, she dreams in English now, but she still counts. It's just like so crazy that you just said that. I wonder if that's like a thing.
It sounds scarier, especially if you work out. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes,
You know.
Yeah, and she would
Okay, I'll do it. You know.
I'm like, okay.
My God.
Germans are intense.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I came over here. You know, it's really, they can be really intense. There's this myth that like German comedians, it's like an oxymoron.
Right.
You know, you can't. It doesn't happen.
So what's your current project?
So I have always a couple. I did some non-fiction the last 5 years. Because I'm also on a spiritual path, and this path is called A Course in Miracles. I'm not sure if you heard of it.
I think I remember when you put it out. I remember seeing it on social media.
Yeah, and I've been doing it since '92, and I'm at a point now where I wrote about it. I wrote a bunch of books about it, and I have a YouTube channel and some groups and stuff like that going on. So that's always kind of on the side, but then I'm also trying to put The Traveler is a short story that I wrote, and I'm trying to have this made into a movie. I can't really officially do it yet because I have an option on it, but it's until November. But it's been 8 years and nothing really happened. So I think I'm writing a screenplay. I'm doing like a treatment, sending it out to some friends and stuff like that, and see if we.
How's that going? Is there anything new since I last talked to you?
So I wrote this short story in 2015, I think, and it was part of a larger anthology of short stories that in itself was then a bigger anthology of anthologies. So it was 21 anthologies of short stories. And it was called The Future Chronicles. And Samuel Peralta was one of the guy that kind of came up with it. And one of my stories, The Traveler, was in the Time Travel Chronicles. And then after 3 months, when it was published, I had the rights back, and I was able to publish it myself on Amazon.
So what's that story about?
So that story is about okay. So you probably know the line, "Irresistible force meets immovable object," right? I feel like a great story always has those two elements. Like Frodo is the irresistible force, and Sauron is the immovable object, right? And they both meet, and one has to give. Either the irresistible force becomes weak, or the immovable object moves. And the greater that conflict is, the better the story is. So anyway, in this story, you have the 12-year-old T. She works as a blacksmith apprentice in her dad's blacksmith shop, and she learns how to forge. She learns how to weld. And she learns how to make beautiful things out of really like raw metal. And her dad is really her best buddy. Her mom died 10 years ago. She has a stepmom, and they don't get along really well. And one day her dad has a stroke. He's in the hospital. He's on his deathbed, and he whispers this word to her. And she tries to figure out what he said. It was his last word. What did he say? And she doubts it. She thinks maybe he just breathed out, But eventually she finds an old dresser in her dad's workshop with a drawer that has a false bottom. And in the false bottom is a notebook written by him. It's all greasy, and it has like metal dust on it, and it's been used a lot. And there's a detailed description with images, mathematical formulas, and a step-by-step guide how to build a time machine. And she's like, exactly, your reaction was her reaction. She's like, I can't do this. First of all, there is no time travel. This is 2025, 2026. There is no time travel. It's a myth, right? It's like sci-fi. Right? There is no time travel. So her grief and her love for her father, that conflict is basically played out in her very reluctantly starting to build this machine. She's 12 years old. She has large doubts, first of all, that she can even build it. She says she's no master blacksmith. She's an apprentice. How can she build this machine that can then carry her through time? It's a crazy idea, right? But her dad's last wish, she says, "All right, I have to do it, even though I know it's a fool's errand. It's not gonna be good." So she starts. She can't get any further. Her dad's best friend from high school has a hardware store. She connects with him. She gets some parts from him. She starts working for him to get money to buy more parts, like rare earth magnets, and she has all kinds of stuff, piping, and And then she is really getting to a point where she's very upset because she thinks she can't finish it. So her dad's best friend says something to her, and that kind of occurred to me when I was writing it. He said, do you think a blacksmith of 40 years would not know what his apprentice can or cannot do? Or do you think it's more likely that he knows exactly what you can do and gives you exactly the task that you can finish? Obviously, it's going to be a struggle, but he knows you can finish it, right? And she's like, okay, I'll finish it. At the same time, her stepmom, she doesn't have any money. Her stepson, the sister, whatever, they want to sell her dad's complete workshop. They want to sell her dad's workshop to have money to live on. So at the very end, they sell everything in the workshop, and there's only one is left. Her apron and his apron is left on the wall, and she has nothing left except the machine that is almost done. But what is it gonna do? It's like a cold piece of metal, right? Anyway, do you want me to tell you more?
I don't know if I want to know the ending. I'm like,
I want to read it.
I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
I want to read it.
I'm like, what happens? No way.
Know how it ends.
Well, there's the symbolism. There's because the welding arc, right, is the brightest light on Earth. The light one is lighter is the nuclear bomb. That is the one thing that is lighter, more brighter. That's brighter. But the welding arc is the brightest light, so that is like the symbol for her inner light. Because she's a blacksmith, that becomes the symbol for her light. And the other thing is the forging. If you forge something, the heat makes the metal soft, and it's easy to transfer that to pain. For us, if we're in pain, we are more likely to change than if we're like, oh yeah, I have a good life, right? So the change comes through pain, and that's the other symbolic meaning in the forging of something beautiful from something raw through the heat or through the pain that she experiences.
I have a question about that in the writing process. So when you come up with a story creatively, I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that you come up with the characters or the storyline or some piece of that first and then build it around there. And like you said, something comes to you and it evolves. The symbolism and stuff, is that something that you're like conscientiously, intentionally putting into the story from the beginning? Or are you like, as it unfolds, you're like, oh, this represents that, or maybe I add this? Like, I'm kind of curious, like creatively, how you get there.
I mean, it's very disappointing, but the symbolism comes afterwards. I didn't think about the symbolism at all. It was just the story just happened. There was no layout. There was no, okay, I'm going to do this first and then this first. It basically started with a scene that I had in my head that she couldn't go into the workshop, but she wanted to, and she wanted to have more memories. She didn't have enough memories. And from there, it just happened step by step as I wrote it. There was nothing, there was no thought about, oh, how do I put the arc, the welding arc in there? That was all afterwards, like, oh my God, this is a great symbolism for it. So it just came from wherever writing comes from, right? It's the same place. It's like, here's the big pit for all the writers. They're like, here, you tap in that and something comes out. You're like, holy moly, how did that?
We've interviewed a lot of authors this past year, and I'd say most have said something similar, but some have more of like a, like it, not even that it's more intentional. It's just more of like a, they do this and then they do that and then they map it out. Like, I think Ava like when we were just editing today, I think when she kind of said that she didn't write chronologically. Like she had like, or maybe she did say that. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. Someone was saying they do it in a different way, and I can't even relate. Are you a Gemini?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't relate. I'm a Gemini. I feel like I would have to just go with what I'm feeling in that moment and kind of just like let it all come out. Let the juices flow, and then maybe like tweak it to make it make a little bit more sense.
You know, Stephen King said his two worst books he made outlines for. The Tommyknockers and then one other book. The rest all came, you know, in while he was writing it. But I get it, because this was a short story, so it's a little different. You know, you have this idea, and then it just happens. But in a longer book, I was outlining to a certain degree, but also the characters would push in certain directions. You know, they would just say, "No, I want to go this way," and boom. Like I wrote this one book called The Fourth Sage. The Fourth Sage was like a what do you call it? Post-apocalyptic story, where this girl, all of a sudden, she hears this thing. There's a hawk, and she has a relationship with a hawk. They thoughts they talk to each other, and all of a sudden the hawk says, we have to make it down to the forgotten floors. They live in this high rise, and I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what is the forgotten floors? I was like, okay, I'm just gonna follow the character down into the forgotten floors. I have no idea what's there. Like, I hope something will be there, because otherwise I'm gonna spend hours. I'm like, darn it. I'm like at the forgotten floors, like nobody's there. It's empty. I mean, you know. So you have to kind of, that's really the really cool thing with writing, is that it's that stuff comes out that is weird, and you go with it, and it's like, oh my God, this whole world opens up from one little thing that you kind of said, all right, I'm going to trust it.
It's so funny. It's like a page turner for you too. You're like, what's next? Like,
totally.
I need to know more.
100%. And the thing is, you know, you probably heard this, that if the writer is touched by the story, then the reader is touched. If the writer is bored, the reader is bored. So for me, that was like, okay, good sign. I'm like, what's going to happen next?
Oh my God, I love that.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So do you prefer writing fiction or nonfiction? Like if you were to pick, because you're saying you've been doing nonfiction a lot lately.
I love the nonfiction part. I really love the nonfiction because it's kind of very structured, and I also know a lot about that topic, so it just comes out. I don't have to do a lot of planning and researching. But I love the world building of the story when it happens in my head. And the most exciting part is when there's a problem, and all of a sudden, you drive down the road, you make a right turn, you're like, oh my God, that's the solution. And the whole thing comes into your head as one, like a whole package. And that is the craziest. That's what I love the most about it. Like the surprise, you know, like, how do I do this? And all of a sudden, it's like this beautiful thing, you know. And I feel like, you know, Tolkien said, when Frodo goes into the prancing pony, right, and the fellowship, the prancing pony, he talked about the strider, you know, Aragorn.
Yeah.
He had no idea who that was. It's like all of a sudden this guy sits in a corner with a pipe. His eyes are like staring at, you know. He had nothing.
One of the most epic characters of all time.
Exactly. I mean, that's crazy. I love that, because you can't plan that. You can't say, and then there will be this character Aragorn, and he's fleshed out. No, he's not. You start seeing this eyes with the pipe, and then from there, it just happens. And that for me is like the most incredible thing with writing. That's really it lives in your head so much.
Stephanie asked a lot of the writers, and she probably will ask you at some point, but like what their best advice was for aspiring authors or someone who has a story inside of them and wants to say it. And I feel like that kind of just opened my eyes a little bit to me personally and to other people that we've spoken to that want to write. And it's like, yeah, just write. That's everyone's like unanimous advice. But really, really, really just write. Because even for me, I'm like, okay, I have this idea. And then I'm like, but I really want to understand, like, I want to kind of like figure it out a little bit more before I get started. I I want to know what fantasy world I'm going to be in. Is it going to be fantasy or is it not going to be fantasy? It's going to be fiction. It's like, whoa, just write. And then you'll find out where you're going. You don't need to have it
Yes,
all figured
it's
out.
right. Right.
Yeah.
It's really the thing is what happens is because you're on the journey with the characters. Let's say they go down this narrow path in the woods, right? You know, they have like a horse behind them or whatever, and it gets darker and darker and darker. And only when you're there do you see what's there. You can't from a distance say, "Oh, I'm gonna write in that forest. They're gonna meet somebody." No, you can't do that. You have to be in the forest. And then all of a sudden, maybe you say, and all of a sudden I looked up and there was this bird, like descending on us, like crazy big wings, you know, whatever. You wouldn't have thought about that until you're in that scene and you look around. So, okay, what's going on? There's this really great writing exercise where you go into, it's a little meditation, you go into an elevator, and you press the down button and you look at the numbers and they go like 10, 9, 8, 7 to 1, 0. The door opens, right, go. What do you see? And you start writing. Like, okay, I see an ice lake. There are red flower petals in the center. I'm trying to go there and then I see like there's something on the right, like a movement. And you start writing, and the whole thing starts to happen, and the whole story could start there. But that's, it's just, you know, it's so cool to just be in that space, in that writing space.
Yeah, I love the idea of writing with no, not goal, like that's not the word, but like just writing and free flowing.
Totally, totally.
Like, no pressure.
No pressure, no pressure.
Just, like,
Don't
pull out
stop
whatever,
editing
like-
yourself. Right.
That is very common advice as well. Just
Don't edit.
fucking write it and be done with
Write
it and
it.
then edit it.
And the other thing is, no limits. Don't limit anything. Your
No
character,
box.
all of a sudden he says, I want to dig down into the sand. Let them do what they want to do. Don't say, people don't dig into the sand. You know, or they can't, I don't know, talk to a tree or whatever it is. I mean, it's really, I think it's really important to let that come out, that fantastical, because who knows where it's going to lead you and who knows where it's coming from. I mean, there are worlds and you know, it's...
So speaking of fantasy and stuff, and like, I don't mean this to be like argumentative or anything, but I'm curious genuinely because like, I feel like when you write or read whatever about specific lore that's like people know about elves, vampires, fae. You know what I mean? Like I don't know because I haven't read all of your work, but if you're touching on one of those elements that's pretty common or well
Yes.
known, would you feel like you needed to prepare for that? Would you find yourself wanting to honor what already exists, or you feel like creative juices just need to be uninhibited?
That's a good question. When I wrote The Three Feathers, which was in a strange way so freeing because it was a fable. There was no fantasy canon that said there are elves, there are orcs, whatever. No, it's animals, and they create their own world. There's like some Pegasus flying around, whatever. But I find it, and I never wrote fantasy that says like Dungeons and Dragons fantasy or Lord of the Rings fantasy. However, another podcaster that I was on a long time ago said when he read The Three Feathers, it was Lord of the Rings with critters. Like, all right, hey, I'll take it. Right? But there was no, I wrote a couple of like post-apocalyptic series that had a dragon in it. So it was a little bit of a mixture. But I don't care. I'm like, whatever.
Your dragon does what your dragon does.
Whatever they want to do, I'll let them do it. You know.
Do you have like
who
a
am I?
process, like when it is time to write, do you have a process or like a space you go? What does that look like?
I love maps. Maps are just the coolest thing. So in the Three Feathers, the story was starting. It's starting to get momentum, and then I was like, I need a map. I need to somehow know where they're going. So I was starting to write a map, and there was this German author, this German painter, Hans Werner Zahm, and he painted surrealistic images. They were incredibly beautiful, but completely impossible. Like huge, like bubbles floating in the air, and on the bubbles, people would stand and talk to each other. It was just like, wow, it would just open up your imagination like crazy. So some of those pictures made it into the story. It was like, okay, this is a destination that those animals will get to. So the map is always a great thing. Then I wrote this story called The White Dragon, and the first part is set in Long Island in West Babylon. And I was just on the map, on Google Map, I was like, okay, Sunrise Highway, they're going this way, they're going to make a right turn. And it was like an apocalyptic event happening, and it was the first 36 hours during the event and after. And it was all in real time. And so I was just on a map of Long Island, and Google Earth and stuff like that, and it was so cool to say. And they passed the firehouse, and then this happened, and then there was a dead end, and then the train derailed, and so just to work off a map and let the story unfold there. You know, you can't put any limits. Whatever you want to do, whatever it feels like. Hey, this is, I don't know. You know, they fly to the moon. You're in the ship. What happens next? Maybe they hit a wormhole. Maybe, I don't know. You know. Just
I love it. I love the creative chaos.
It's really, and then all of a sudden you have this moment in the story that's like, oh my God, this is gonna be, you know, where like Game of Thrones. I don't know if you've watched it, or if you know Hodor, yeah. Right? Hodor was like the biggest foreshadowing in the history of foreshadowing, right? Yeah. Five seasons later, he holds the door. It's like,
yeah. Well, yeah, that was pretty. Well, don't get me started on that right now, because that was the best foreshadowing ever, and then
that was the ever.
Blew to smithereens everything I loved about the show in the last episode.
Right.
I'm still upset because I'm going off on a tangent right now. Since
go ahead.
It, like the battle scene at the end, where the king and all the things. I don't think Stephanie's seen it, so I don't want to totally destroy it.
No, I've seen. I don't watch anything, but I've seen Game of Thrones. Okay. But I waited till it wasn't cool anymore.
Me too. I didn't watch it until the last season came out. That was the most epic battle scene ever. Obviously not realistic, but it was so good. I was like,
so good.
Stoked. I went to school for acting. I was like, oh my God, it was so good. Everything was so good. It was so good. Right. I was so into it. And then when she goes street by street, strategically killing everyone. It was the single most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in any cinematic piece of anything ever. I was like, that is the absolute non-ironic, non-realistic antithesis of everything that made her who she is as a character. I hate them. They ruined this for me.
Right.
Why?
You were like, I've been with you since scene 1, and you're doing this? This is what I was waiting for?
She would have went to the Red Keep, and she would have killed Cersei and Jaime, and sacrificed the people in front of the Red Keep. Because she's selfish, and she wanted to kill them. She would have not strategically killed all those innocent people. How did they allow this?
I know.
Who approved this?
Who approved this message?
I think they're making up with the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I think that's going to be great.
Yeah, I haven't watched the new series. I watched, oh goodness, I can't think of the Targaryen.
The House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
It, right when she turns to an adult, and I haven't seen it past that.
Exactly the same for me. I was like, I don't like anybody on it.
I was like, ooh, icky.
Icky.
So, okay, what's your favorite series of all time to read?
So my favorite series, which screwed up everything after that, is the Farseer trilogy, the Assassin's Apprentice.
Is that
Assassin's
the
Quest.
one that you? I think
I sent you the link or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like on my TBR list. I don't own it yet, but it's on the list, and I think because of you.
It was 90s. It came out 96, and I think still in Germany or some close to it, or maybe a little earlier. And there was this tiny little bookstore. It was like this old man. It was like a classic cliche bookstore with comics, thousands of comics and fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons games and all this stuff. And I was always talking to him, and he says, I have this series. You have to read this book. And it was The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. And oh my God, I was so blown away by it. To this day, I could not find one that was better for me. I was like, darn it. There's so many great books out there. I couldn't. It was like I was scarred for life with that series. I was totally.
I need a book like that right now. I'm dying to feel that.
It was just this. It was so good. It was so good.
I don't get disenchanted. I'm not disenchanted with reading. Maybe because we're right now kind of
Spit it out. Let it flow.
immersed in one very specific genre, right? And so, and it's very saturated right now, and there's a lot of people in it and a lot of regurgitation of the same thing. So we're reading, we just started reading Red Rising, which is not romantic fantasy, it's fantasy. So I'm hoping that we really like it. It has great reviews. My brother loved it. I remember when we talked too, but I'm almost like, I'm starting to read it and I'm like, am I getting like sourpuss about reading? Cause I'm like, oh my God.
Right, jaded. You're jaded.
No. Yeah. And I'm like, I hope I'm wrong. Like I want something fresh.
Right. It's hard. And it's hard to write something that is really unique because so much has been written. And it's hard for a reader. You read and some of it is the same old stuff and a little bit different, whatever. But to find that story that grabs you from the beginning is like, doesn't let go. It's like, holy shit, this is amazing. The Ender's Game. Have you ever read that? The science fiction, it was like, back then, I think also for me the best science fiction story by far, and those stories you just can't not. You could like, oh my God, what's happening next?
I feel like I'm not smart enough for science fiction.
No. This is you'll be 100% fine. It's not hard sci-fi.
You'll be fine, Katie.
You'll be totally fine.
I mean, because sci-fi gets really like, I don't know.
No, this is no, you won't have that. Listen, I'm gonna tell you my dream. Okay. Like my core dream, right? Not a lot of people know this. But I would love to live on a film set. That would be I would be so happy to be a writer on a film set with discussing like, how could we make this character a little bit more this way and that, and that would be. I can't direct, I can't act, and I'm probably not even good enough to write the screenplay. I don't really care. If I can tell somebody the story and say, this 12-year-old girl is this irresistible force that moves time with her sheer will. I want this to be caught on camera. However, whatever my involvement is. And then after that, another movie. But
I've worked with a lot of directors, and I hate to break it to you, what you're saying right now is very much exactly what a director is. So You are a director. You've already excited me about these characters. and you are painting the picture without me having read it of where they need to be and what they need to feel. So don't sell yourself short, because
Okay.
what you're doing is directing it right now.
Right. I mean,
I'm getting really excited because I'm going to be your best friend and I'm helping you.
good. Yeah, I don't have the technical, I have no technical knowledge of how to make the movie, but what I do know is how she feels 100%. And it's like, it's in me. It's
I
real.
also love that you, I guess, I mean, people do it all the time, but that you feel so convicted and like you know what she feels, and she's a 12-year-old girl, right? And that's so not who you are, right? You're not a 12-year-old girl. And that's really interesting to me in and of itself. Like, I can tell, and you've painted her as a real 12-year-old girl already to me. So, yeah, I'm kind of like how you, where, you know what I mean? Like, how does that come?
Right. So I had a very painful childhood. My parents were divorced when I was 11. I went with my dad. My sister went with my mother. So that was a huge separation. And it took me a very, very long time to get over that. So my teenage years from 11 on was very painful. And my 20s also. So I can draw from that pain very easily. And even though I never lost somebody close to me in death, I know that feeling of this aloneness, and I compare it to when you jump into ice cold water. You're all of a sudden isolated from everything. It's like I don't know what this feeling is. It's cold, and you're completely separate from the rest. And that feeling of her, with her dad dead, and I just feel it. I can feel it. And this force that you can come up with in the deepest darkness, this light comes to you when you're in the deepest darkness. This spark, this arc, all of a sudden you're like, you're just like exploding in this burst of light, in a way, because it was so dark and so painful, and you get through it, and then all of a sudden you're coming out and you're free in a way.
Yeah.
And stuff happens like that you can't explain.
You're very good at articulating thoughts, feelings, emotions, like very abstract concepts. Like, I can feel like everything you say. You paint such a vivid picture. Like, that's such a talent. Like, I could feel everything.
I can feel it. I feel it right now.
And I can
Maybe
feel
that's
that
why you can feel it.
So
yeah, it's real.
It's
right.
It's pretty. Yeah.
It's not a theoretical thing. It's like I know that force, that you have inside, we're just kind of clogged up. And then once we push through it, and it's just like,
There's so much passion. I actually have immense guilt that I haven't read anything yet. I need to read what you've put. I am thoroughly excited to experience it.
Thank you. I think that
one. What's the girl's name?
T. And T comes from Traveler because it's an homage to The Time Machine, which was my favorite movie when I was 10, 11. The Time Machine came out, I think, in early 70s. And it was a really cool, I watched it probably 50 times. So many times as a kid, over and over and over again. And it stuck. It totally stuck. It was just like... And then the other thing is, anything is possible. You're not, the limits are literally in our mind. This immovable force, if you're the irresistible force pushes this immovable object out of the way.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm like, did I just get a therapy session?
There's so much to take away from this. Like, oh.
I feel that this is a gift to transfer emotions through the words. Because you can write and you just get the facts,
Yes.
right? And you're like, okay, I get it. You know, whatever this person is saying, I get it. But to transfer the emotion that this scene holds into the other person, it's like, wow, I feel it.
That's
You know?
that's not a small feat. It's not easy to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely not. And even to be able to do it across, you know, it may be a little bit easier if you meet someone that's very similar to you or whatever, or thinks like you, or has experienced the same thing. But to just like suddenly be able to transport two people into a world and feel your passion and know what's happening in just a small amount of time. I mean, you just did it right here, impromptu, you know. So, yeah, I mean,
The thing is though, you are making it. You're like this, right? You're going like this. And with you, I have no defenses. I can be very open. I'm like, I can talk to you. We don't have any, you know what I mean? No, there's no resistance. There's no weirdness. It's just totally open. And that's when it happens. But it doesn't happen with everybody. You know, I'm not able to do this with, you know, I would probably, if I would talk to a director or a producer, I would probably first say like, oh my God, you know, I would have to get over that.
No, I think you should present it just exactly the way you just did to us. Fuck being a producer. Fuck what they do. Like, and honestly, quite frankly, if they're a producer who's worth a damn, they're going to be far more receptive to exactly what you just pitched than some fucking bullshit. You know,
I'm glad you taped it because I can't remember.
We have it. It is recorded. We can send it. This is an audition tape.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you ever need the footage.
We got it.
It's so exciting.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.